Good.
Okay, so I want to welcome everybody here tonight. I don't want to make this a time of crying every week. I want us to get energized. I want us to have processes. I want us to come up with, I've asked everybody to bring an idea tonight, and we're going to talk tonight about things that we need to be working on, because actually you have a unique ability at this point to do a lot of things that you've probably been putting off for years. So tonight, to start this off, we wanted to bring someone special in. So Cheryl, I'm going to let you introduce Tom, okay?
Well, I'd like to introduce Tom Ziegler to everyone of you. Super friend, mentor. He taught me things that, I don't know if he taught me, but he sure brought out a piece of me that I wasn't let show a lot of times. Used to be a lot colder. He made me a lot more friendly. He gave me what it takes to help people and help them on their own terms. So with all that, Tom, it's all about you.
Well, Cheryl, Jerry, thanks for having me on. And I've been just been doing, I've done 55 webinars in the last 10 days. So the need for hope and encouragement, the right mindset, the right outlook, some practical things we can all do. Gosh, it's never been stronger than right now, that need. And so what I thought I'd do is just share about 10 or 15 minutes of what our family and what I've spent my whole life doing, which is about hope and encouragement. It's about, what are the things that we can do even in a crisis. And I think we all agree this is like the mother of all crises that we're in right now. So, I mean, it's crazy. So let me do this, if it's okay. I want to share my screen and just kind of go through this, and let me know, Cheryl, if you can see that. Okay.
We're seeing it fine. We're fine, Tom.
Okay, good stuff. And I'm going to open up my chat if my mouse will cooperate. And if anybody is able to chat in and you have questions along the way,
Somebody, Cheryl, mute everybody's mic, but Tom.
Frank's trying to come in. Somebody's trying to come in, and I haven't got control of it yet.
Okay.
Yeah. It's Frank.
No worries on that. We can, there we go. All right. So let me just jump in. My father was Zig Ziglar, and he really had an impact in terms of, let me see if I can find it.
There, we still got a mic cutting in.
I just found him.
Just found it. Man, you guys are good at this. I've been monitoring the mics for constantly. All right, so Zig Ziglar was my father, and he wrote 45 books. If you ever heard him speak on stage, maybe the greatest speaker ever took the stage. He's known specifically for his wisdom, his quotes, and positive attitude. But, he came out, he was raised in the Great Depression. He started his first job when he was 6, selling peanuts on the corner. He really went through a lot in his life. And then at the end of his life, when he was 80 years old, and I don't tell this story very often, but when he was 80 years old, he'd come back. He was speaking in Los Angeles, and he'd come home, and he was, mom and dad had gone to bed, and for some reason, dad decided to get up. He goes down the hallway, and instead of turning right, we don't know, he turned left. He hit the first step of the stairs, and he goes tumbling all the way down the stairs. So 16 steps, 2-story house, hits his head on the marble floor, double brain bleed, and loses a short-term memory like almost instantly. I was in Mexico, and I get the call, right? And so we're coming home, trying to get home early, and it's hard. So the second day he's in the hospital, he's in his bed. They've done all the MRIs. He's still got some brain swelling, a little bit of a headache, a short-term memory is not there. And the doctor comes in and says, my sister Julie there, mom's there, Cindy's there. The doctor gives the report, right? And All of that goes by. And then at the end of that, Dad looks up at the doctor from his bed, and his head's all bandaged up. And he says, "Doctor, today's Tuesday, right? Because the board on the hospital wall has the date on it." And the doctor said, "Yeah." And he said, "Well, I'm supposed to speak on Thursday. I need to get out of here. Can you let me out so I can go do this speaking engagement?" And the doctor looks at Dad and basically says, "No, you're in serious trouble. And Mr. Ziegler, you need to start thinking about the fact that you'll probably never speak again. You need to be thinking about doing something different." So here's a man who his whole life, 50 plus years, have been speaking, leading and motivating and inspiring others and all that. And a doctor tells him that he's never going to do that again. So Dad looks up, doesn't say a word, just smiles. He leaves the room. And then my dad turns to my sister, Julie, and he calls Julie little one. And he says, "Little one, I've still got something to say. So we're just going to have to figure out another way to do it." And so what happened at that point is that was the genesis of Julie and Dad now traveling for the next 4.5 years over 100 different events where they did an interview format, because Dad couldn't speak like he did before, but he could communicate. He knew all the stories, people knew his heart, and he impacted thousands and thousands of people in that process because of the transparency. And the reason I say that is because that was a black swan. I mean, the thing is we're in the middle of a black swan event right now, right? It's a game changer. It's changing our personal lives, our business, but yet in the middle of the black swan, looking up from a hospital bed, Dad was undeterred because, let me ask this question. And if you're able to type it in, type it in. Did he make that response while he was on the hospital bed, or did he have 5 decades of training his mind of what he was going to do? Was that like an instantaneous answer, or had he been preparing his whole life for circumstances beyond his control? Yeah, that was it. I mean, he was living out everything that he'd read, everything he believed, everything he taught. And because of that, yeah, that's right, Tim, 5 decades. Okay, so here's the thing, is I want to talk to you about the stronger mindset and about how I believe right now. Here's the thing. I'm telling, just like the group that you're in, we coach hundreds and hundreds of business owners. And what I'm telling them, and these are all sizes, anywhere from solopreneur to large organization, is we're telling everyone, look, we're going to get this through this together. We're going to come out of it. And here's the reality. It's not going to be better. It's not going to be worse. It's going to be different. Right? I mean, can you see all the things that are changing? I mean, I was talking to a friend. There's a lot of people over 60 years old who, until recently, never ordered anything on a mobile app. And now, guess what they all know how to do? They know how to go grocery shopping on their phone. I mean, it's like Amazon, in a weird sort of way, just compressed 10 years of, client acquisition into 2 weeks, because they trained a whole generation who was smartphone resistant to shopping. So this we do know, it's going to be different. And so how do we, in the middle of this, how do we create a mindset, an attitude that allows us to emerge stronger, right? Because the reality is this: life is going to go on. We're going to get through this. It's probably going to take longer than we want it to. There's going to be some things that are going to change in the process, but we're coming out. I mean, the reality is we're coming out. We win every time. There's something about the backbone of this country, and that is small business owners, people who wake up every day saying, if it's going to be, it's up to me, right? It's up to me. There's something about the people in a group just like this, where they get knocked down, they get that look on their face, and they say, you know what, this really sucks, but I'm going to win anyway. I'm going to get through it. I'm going to go through it. And so what I'm talking about now is that attitude. And so I was thinking, okay, if I looked at all of the quotes that Dad had in his life, what's the one that applies to this situation right now? And here it is. Expect the best, prepare for the worst, maximize what comes. So what does that mean? Well, here's the reality. We have to go out every day expecting the best. We've got to adopt the attitude of gratitude, courageous, contagious hope and encouragement. We got to put the good stuff in our mind. We got to listen to the things that lift us up. We've got to expect the best from our family, our friends, our teammates, our coworkers, our customers. And we've got to bring that little thing in our voice that says, hey, you know what? We're in it together. We're going to get through it. Don't worry, I'll be there. Hey, it's a strange time right now. It's crazy. What can I do? When we expect the best, when we put the right things in our mind, this is what happens. It lifts our spirit. I mean, I'll just be point blank. When you read good stuff, listen to good information, have good, solid, positive conversations, not focused on what you can't do, but on what you can do, that gets the heart going. That lifts the spirit. And let me tell you this, when you lift the spirit, scientifically, medically, we know this, it boosts your immune system. And if we need anything right now, we need a strong immune system, right? And then when you encourage someone else, whether it's a friend, a family member, a client, a customer, whoever it is, when they hear that smile of steely determination, when they hear that hope and encouragement, when they hear you say, hey, how's it going? I was thinking about you. You okay? Great. I just want you to know I'm here for you. We're going to get through this together. When they hear that, it lifts their spirits. And guess what that does? That boosts their immune system. So this mindset, the stronger mindset, there is no downside. There's only upside, because everything I'm talking to you about is upside. Dad said this. He said a positive attitude won't let you do anything, but it will let you do everything better than a negative attitude. Right on. I mean, that's just the reality. Or if we want to go out and have the best chance possible, it only makes sense to have the best positive attitude we can. And then we got to prepare for the worst. Well, wait, how do those two things go hand in hand? Expect the best, prepare for the worst. Hey, we got to look at reality. This might take a little longer than we want it to. So how do we prepare for the worst? Well, the first thing is we got to take care of ourselves physically, mentally, and spiritually. That's right. We got to exercise. We got to eat right. We got to get 8 hours of sleep. We got to get the nutrition in. We've got to build ourselves up. When we do this physically, it does something to our immune system. It builds it up, but it also creates margin. And right now, we got to have margin, right? We got to have margin. We've got to have breathing room. We've got to have space. We got to look at our business and our personal life and all the things around us. And we got to look 3, 4, 5, 6 months into the future, longer than we want to look, but we got to look and we got to envision, what if it takes longer? What have I got to do? Hey, I got to go stock the kitchen. I got to wash my hands 20 seconds a day, at a time, 20 times a day. One of my clients is an HVAC. You know what they're doing every day? They're putting booties on and masks on and hazmat, and they don't touch anything in the house. And they FaceTime their clients while they're walking through. Right? Their clients go back in the back room. If they touch something, they wipe it down. I mean, they're doing every precaution they can, because what are they doing? They're preparing for the worst. Not that it's going to happen, but that they have the margin when it does happen. So when you prepare for the worst, it allows you the third piece, which is maximize what comes. And this is where the win is. It's a delayed win, but this is where the win is. You've probably already had the 2 a.m. text message, or the middle of the night phone call, or the direct message on social media that said, hey, I'm scared, I'm lonely, I don't know what's going on, I can't make payroll, I'm not sure what's going to happen next week, much less next month. What do I do? Right? If you have margin in your life, if you have this great attitude of the expect the best attitude, if you have created, you're exercising, you're eating, you're getting enough sleep, you're looking in the future, that gives you margin. So what do you do when that friend or that coworker or that customer sends that message to you? You reach out to them. You say, hey, Cheryl, I'm on your side. I'm here for you. Jerry, what's going on? How can I help? Tell me about it. And you give them all your ears and all your eyes, and you just listen. You just listen. And then when you listen, you say, man, I understand. You know what? We've been in some tough jams before. This country, the people in this country that I know, that I love, that I'm proud to stand next to, I know them. We're going to get through this together. Hey, you know what? If it goes lower, guess what? We're in it together. When it starts to turn, guess what? We're in it together. How can I help you right now? And then you maximize what comes. You give them a little bit extra. So what does that mean? The next day, a few days later, you send them a note, you call them up, you text them, you say, hey, I was thinking about our conversation. I just want you to know I'm on your side. We got this together. Whatever you need, let me know. And then on our business, the business is the same thing. A customer calls up and they tell you point blank, I got problems 10 feet deep. I don't know what to do. What do? You roll up your sleeves and you dig in and you say, hey, let me help. How can I help you solve those problems? Right? You do what you can. And then you go a little bit extra. How do you do that? You give them a text or a phone call the next day or a few days later. And you say, hey, I was thinking about it. How are you doing? Anything else I can do? What's going on? I care about you. You know, we've been around the block together. I want to keep doing that. Right? We're going to get through this. So how do you maximize what comes? That's the how, but how are you able to? Because you have the right attitude, right? I'm not saying it's easy. I'm saying we got to fill it up on purpose. And then we prepared for the worst. We're getting enough sleep. We're exercising. We've got to have the capacity to do it. So one of my mentors, his name is Rabbi Daniel Lappin. And he says this, he's a good friend. He says, God is never happier with his children than when they're solving the problems of his other children. Think about that. That's a big thing right there. In the military language, when we get surrounded by the enemy, it means we can attack in any direction. Okay? Don't you feel like that? We're surrounded? How about this? Another military, like if problems are our enemy, we're in a target-rich environment right now. Right? I mean, no matter where we turn, there's problems. Well, guess what makes the creator of this universe happy? When we figure out how we can solve the problems of his other kids. I mean, that's really what it's about right now. And a lot of times the way we solve problems right now is just listening, just caring. And so what do we got to do? What's the fuel that we need right now? Here it is. When we choose the right input, we have taken the most important step we can take in determining the right outcome. I want to just kind of, I almost use the word beseech, you know, it almost sounds like we're preaching here, but you've got to be really careful on the amount of negative input we get, because all you got to do is turn on the TV, the radio, social media, and you hear it nonstop, right? How many cases? How many people? What's the death toll in Italy? How, you know, are we at max curve yet? You know, what's the next step? And then our fearless leaders, it's like, they don't care about us. They care about winning between each other. I don't get it. I don't care if you're Republican or Democrat. I don't get it. You know, we've got problems to solve. We've got people to serve. And so what we got to do is we got to choose what we listen to, what we read, who we associate with, the good, the clean, the pure, the powerful, and the positive. So that's the stronger mindset, okay? It's so powerful that we understand, we expect the best, we prepare for the worst, we maximize what comes. But there's another factor here. Our families depend on it. Legacy is intentionally preparing those you love to grow through life's most difficult challenges. Think about that. As parents, as you know, aunts and uncles, and we have people who look up to us, our younger teammates, employees, they look up to us. And they're looking up and they're saying, how are they handling it? Right? Are they walking through with steely determination and grit, being truthful and honest and loving and kind at the same time? Guys, everybody knows we're in it. I mean, nobody's surprised when we deliver bad news. It's how we deliver it. It's the relationship that matters. So when they see that little smile that sets everything straight, right? That little curve, that's a smile that sets everything straight. And they see that look in our eyes that says, you know what? Bring it. I got more than this. I can go because I'm expecting the best. I'm preparing for the worst. I'm maximizing what comes. Our family, our kids are looking at this. And I want to tell you a story. Tom Brokaw said in a book, he said that the greatest generation this country ever had was the men and women who fought in World War II. I mean, think about it. It's in all the history books. The war started. We were unprepared. We didn't have resources. We didn't have equipment. Our Army, our Navy, our Air Force was untrained, taken by surprise. And then we go into battle against battle-hardened, superior armies and generals and forces. They've been fighting for a while. And yet, a few years later, we win. And then these men and women come home, and the greatest economic boom in the history of civilization happens. Yeah, they were the greatest generation. Or were they? My friend Andy Andrews, he said, Tom, they weren't the greatest generation. Their parents were. You see, the parents raised those men and women during the Great Depression. They worked from sun up to sundown. They didn't have any stuff. All they had was each other, discipline, hard work, principles, and values. You see, the greatest generation was the generation that raised the men and women who fought in World War II. This is what I believe. I believe that people just like me, just like you, are standing up right now. And our kids and those who look up to us for leadership and direction, they're watching our eyes and our face and our determination and our gait and our spirit and our tone. And how we lead them, I believe that we have the opportunity to raise up the greatest generation this country has ever had. I'm here to tell you that snowflakes are melting left and right now, and they are being hardened into people who can withstand the furnace, not because they wanted to, but because the furnace does something pretty cool. It burns away the things that don't matter. So we know medically, scientifically, and family-wise, this is the right approach, right? But what else? There's another word I want to give you. It's called anti-fragile. Great book, Nassim Taleb. Anti-fragile means pretty much the same as stronger. So what is anti-fragile? Well, it's hard to explain. It's easier to explain the opposite. Yeah. What is fragile? Fragile is weak. It's easily broken or destroyed. We don't want to be fragile, right? We don't want to be weak or easily broken. Yeah. Tim's a right on, like muscles in the gym. It's like you've seen one of my slides that's coming up. We want to be the opposite of fragile or weak. We want to be strong, robust, resilient, gritty, determined. But you see, those are all great things because they'll get us through the storm. But we don't want to do just getting through the storm, do we? We want to be anti-fragile. We want to increase in our capacity as a result of the stressors, the shocks, the noise, the mistakes, the faults, or the attacks. That's right. Stronger, anti-fragile means simply this, that the more that comes against us, the stronger we get. It's the way we're created. I mean, look at this. Biologically, God created us. He said, look, if you want to build stronger muscles, you lift weights, you tear those muscles down, and then they come back what? Stronger. And women, you reach the age of menopause, you go to the doctor, and the doctor says, hey, we don't want you to get osteoporosis. You need to start lifting weights because the stress, the pressure, the weight will make your bones what? Stronger. Yeah. This is where we rise up as a group, as business owners. We start making decisions and we set our face and we say, you know what, we're going to get through this together. But it goes even deeper than this. I mean, now we've got science, we've got medicine, we've got family, we've got biology, but I want to go spiritual. Look at this. This is my dad's life verse, Romans 8:28. God causes all things to work together for good to those who love God. Look at that. Wait a second. I don't like this situation we're in. I don't understand it. It doesn't make any sense to me. And yet I believe and I know that God's going to cause this to work together for good. Does that sound like expect the best? And then when I was a kid, some person much wiser than me, I was 12 years old, they said, Tom, you need to pick a life verse. So I picked James 1, 2, and 3. I can't believe I picked this verse. When I was 12 years old, I'd never had a trial in my life. A trial was going to Luby's cafeteria and deciding what dessert to eat. I mean, that's about as hard as I had it. And yet I picked this verse. Consider it all joy, my brethren, when you encounter various trials, knowing that the testing of your faith produces what? Endurance. So you take those two verses and you combine them. Hey, I should be joyful. I should be excited because the trial, the furnace, is going to make me what? Stronger. And then we look at this. This is a different version. It's a sheer gift. Are you looking at this situation as a sheer gift? You know what? Our mindset, we can flip it. We can say, all of a sudden, I've got time to build every family relationship I have. All of a sudden, I've got time to take better care of my physical, mental, and spiritual self. All of a sudden, I've got time to innovate, to plan the next thing, to understand and to put myself into the future of how the world's going to change. And look at this. Attacked and from all sides. That's the way I feel. And then the last piece there, you know that under pressure, your faith life is forced out into the open and its true colors show. Listen, when people see you under pressure, just like a little candle in a dark room, you can light the whole room with how you respond. The reality is people are looking to us to lead in our own home, in our own business, in our own community. We lead from the inside out. And if we choose the stronger mindset, there is no downside. And then I love John 16:33 because there's two promises here. The first one I don't like. In this world, you will have trouble. That's like a guarantee. It's here with a capital T. But take heart, for I have overcome the world. We win. That's the awesome news. That's the great news. We win. So I'll just wrap up with this. So what do we do? You know, as leaders, as business owners, what do we do? I think right now is a perfect time to reach out to as many of our customers, our acquaintances, people in our network, and just find out what's going on. How can I help? And as you start to hear their problems and challenges, you'll start to see consistency. And guess what happens with problems? My Uncle Bernie, who Dad's best friend, he came to my niece Catherine's wedding like 10 years ago. Uncle Bernie's like unbelievably wealthy. And I said, Uncle Bernie, what's the secret to your wealth? And he looked at me and he calls me Slug. And he calls me Slug not because I'm a slug, but because when I was a baby, I had a baseball cap on and it said Slugger on it. Okay, so he calls me Slug for Slugger. He says, Slug, when I see a problem, I run to it. Because where there's problems, there's money. Right now, it's the same deal. It's a little bit different timing wise. We're going to run to a lot of problems right now because we love and care for those we do life with, right? We want to be there to help. But the relationships that we forge and the understanding that we get of the needs that people have and how they want us to serve them, that's where the opportunity is. All right, I'm going to stop share and just open it up for questions. So I hope I didn't go and blow too hard. I get kind of excited about that. Whoop.
Anybody got any questions? Jerry, you're muted.
Tom, could you put the slide back up that gives the definition of anti-fragile? I thought that was a really unique and interesting concept.
Sure. Oh, and while I'm doing that, let me say this. I'm going to type it in the, and Cheryl, you have it too, so you can even send it out. But I wrote an ebook where all of this is in it. You can get it at Ziglar.com/stronger. It's free.
Actually, it's on the mastermind group. Everybody has a copy.
Oh, nice. Yeah. So I'll turn that screen back on. And let's see.
Yeah, while he's finding that, like I said, Tom has done this from his friendship with Cheryl and spoken to y'all tonight. So if you have any questions for him, like I said, Tom is the son of Zig Ziglar. If you can imagine what that was like being raised by someone like that and the childhood that he went through and what he learned. So this might be a unique opportunity for those of you that have never met Tom or heard him speak. If you'd like to ask a question, Tom is one of the most giving people that we know. So if you have any questions, just turn your mic on. Feel free to ask them.
Hey, Tom, that was awesome. And I'm taking notes as you're talking. I love that slide about when you choose the right input, that's the most important step in determining the outcome. Can you elaborate on that a little bit more? I mean, like where we are right now, it's true. Like we're surrounded by media outlets that make money on pessimism. We're surrounded by a lot of fear mongering on both sides of the political aisle. And can you speak a little bit more to having the right input to set you up to win?
Yeah. So the reality is no action happens without a prior thought initiating it. Right? I mean, that's just the reality. And so our thoughts come from the input, what we've listened to, what we read, the influences we've had in our life. That all adds up to create our thoughts. Now, this is a very interesting thing, and I want to give you 3 points on this. There's 3 things that we've got to do. And this is whether you're a believer or not, there are 3 things that we got to do. First is we choose our input. When we choose the right material, well, the things that lift us up, the things that are true, what's right, it's what's true, okay? It's what allows us to do better. It allows us to go forward. And so our life, probably just in an average day, 90% is negative. I mean, it's just the way the world comes at us, right? Maybe it's 70% negative and 20% neutral, but it's not mostly positive. And right now, I guarantee you, it's way over 90% negative. And that's because that's what moves us. We react to it. Do you think if only good news, if that got the ratings, do you think that's not what we would get on the TV? We'd be getting all the good stories, right? We'd be hearing about all the people who recovered and all the people who have tried this new protocol and all the people who are maintaining their health doing certain things. We'd be hearing about that constantly, but that's not the way it is. So the first thing is we got to choose our input. What we input into our mind determines our thinking. Our thinking, our beliefs, our actions, and our actions get our results. Number 2 is we've got to guard our minds against the negative. So we choose the good and we guard against the negative. So what's negative? When somebody says you're no good, that's not true, right? So how do we know what's not true? We got to guard our minds against the not true. If it disagrees with God's word, it's not true. That's where I come down, okay? And so I speak life and hope into people all the time because I see potential in every person that's in the room. I don't care what their background is. I see who God created them to be. And so my responsibility is to speak that. But the reality is we get negative and non-truth spoken into us all the time. And then the third one is this. We have to train our mind. If you want to go deeper on this, there's a doctor. Her name is Dr. Carolyn Leaf. And she's a neuroscientist, psychologist, done tons of work with MRIs and brain scans. We know this for a fact. We are all, every single one of us, everybody on this call, we're all neuroplasticians. We're all neurosurgeons. We can literally grab a hold of a negative thought and dwell on it over and over and over again and talk about it and research it. And it will, by an MRI, it will make brain damage in our brain. It will shut our brain down. It will inhibit it. It will create all kinds of negative symptoms. But guess what we can also do? We can grab a hold of a positive thought or idea, and we can meditate on it, and we can grow it, and we can develop it, and we can reclaim that part of the brain that we have, right? It's amazing. And this isn't like pie in the sky stuff. This is medical science. Did you know, has anybody here heard of post-traumatic growth? Has anybody heard of that?
That's a new one, Tom.
I don't see anybody here saying they've heard of it, but listen to this. We all know what PTSD is, right? Post-traumatic stress disorder, right? I mean, that's when we see some sort of trauma, either physical or emotional. And it debilitates, right? The symptoms are real. It causes all kinds of issues. Did you know that some people have post-traumatic growth? In other words, they have the same trauma, the same life-changing experience, that except for they reframe it into their mind and they recreate it, and it becomes a growth thing. You see, some people are like, that almost killed me. I'm never doing that again. I'm fragile. You know what? Life's hard. It's tough. Somebody else, nothing can kill me now. Look at what just happened. I'll get over this. And we've got a real decision in our head. We've got a choice to make on it. So when the whole country's been through a trauma, okay, I'm just telling you right now, the dad coined this. He says, you got to be before you can do, and you got to do before you can have. What does that mean? It means you got to be the right kind of person, do the right things, and then you can have all that life has to offer. The problem is people put all of their identity into what they do and what they have. Their job and their stuff. That's who I am. Just ask anybody on the street. Hey, tell me about yourself. Oh, well, you know, I'm doing this. And then before that, I did this. And before that, I did this. And well, tell me more about you. Well, I like to water ski and I go hunting on the weekends. And yeah, I'm going to, you know, as soon as all this mess clears, I've got my eye on a new rifle, blah, 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 right? So they're telling you what they do and what they have and what they want. They're not telling you who they are. Well, this event that's going on right now, the onion's being peeled back. The stuff is going away. You know, what we have, we a lot of people, me included, in jeopardy of losing some of it. And what we do, hey, we're a training company. We do live training all the time. People come to our headquarters and go through it. How many people are getting on airplanes right now to come see us at Ziegler? If they did, they'd be stupid. I'm just telling you, our world's changed. Your world's changed. So what do? You flip it. You say, you know what? I've been doing webinars for years. I do hundreds of webinars a year. Nothing like the last 2 weeks. Why is everybody calling me right now? Because they need what we have more than ever. So if they need what we have more than ever, it's my job to figure out, okay, how and when. Because the way we did it before is probably not working the same way for a while. So that idea of, man, people, we've got to control our input. We've got to guard against the wrong. We've got to train our mind. We are all neuroplasticians. And then we got to realize the situation our customers are in. They're scared just like we are. And that's why when we bring that expect the best, we can fortify a relationship that changes everything. I got on a roll. I don't even know if I answered your question.
Anyone else have a question for Tom? Like I said, Tom's a unique individual. Feel free. This is an opportunity that's hard to come by, ladies and gentlemen. So if you have a question, feel free to ask it.
So Tom, what would you say? So I have 2 teenagers and they're having a really terrible time dealing with just the isolation of all this. They're almost 14 and 16. And so they're just having a really tough time. I think they're tired of me saying, look, you're not Anne Frank. You're not living under, you know, living in seclusion in an attic or anywhere. You're not in a concentration camp. You're not in World War II. I think they're tired of me just telling them how lucky they are. What advice would you give me to say to them to give them some hope? Okay,
so for that age group especially, this is kind of a cool thing. You know, Dad said this. It's not negative to identify a problem. Okay, it's actually positive to identify a problem. That's a good thing. How are we going to own and solve a problem if we don't even identify it? It only becomes negative if you focus on the problem and not the solution. So, you know, there's another quote that says, logic will not change an emotion, but action will. So we got to take action on something. And so as you talk with them, well, what's the problem? You know, what is it that, you know, are you frustrated? Are you fearful? What's next? okay, what's the solution? And I would just hammer in on the solutions. Well, it starts with our thinking. What can we read? What can we learn? How can we grow? And then I would go to the next one, and that is, who can we help? I mean, one of the things that I got a video, probably some of y'all have seen it, where like this whole country, they started making handmade masks. The whole country, they're like sewing and knitting and going nuts, and they've got all these decorative masks, and the people who are making them are giving them away to the people who can't. And are they the best? You know, R95 or whatever filtered mask? No, they're not. But the reality is they're all of a sudden together focusing on something they can do. My sister is a senior citizen, Cindy. Cheryl, don't tell Cindy I said this. So she didn't have any masks. Well, there was a group in her area that delivered 10 masks to anybody over 65 who wanted one. There are all kinds of little projects that we who have a little bit more can do to help others. And kids are the best at dreaming that up and thinking about it. You know, develop an online, maybe they become peer mentors of their own age group. We train people as young as 16 in leading our material. They can talk to their friends. And this is kind of an interesting thing because this is just an observation. If any of you have a photo album, like an old-fashioned photo album, that's like older than say 10 to 12 years old, and you have kids in there, look at the girls in that album that are in that 12 to 16 range, just being girls. Most of the pictures won't have any makeup on it. But now, do you ever see a 12 to 16-year-old girl without makeup? And the reason is because they've got to be selfie ready, right? They feel this unbelievable pressure to put on a mask for the world, and to me it makes no sense, right? And so what's happening right now is all those masks are being burned out of this furnace. The things that really matter are coming in. And so tell your kids more than you've ever told them, I love you, I'm proud of you. Dad always said that to us. He always put those two things together. I love you and I'm proud of you. And when we said, well, I don't know what to do, I'm bored, it was always, well, what do you think you should do? And made us think, right? And by the way, this is good for me and you too. I mean, there is no age limit on this advice. But if we get problem focused, man, it's going to be horrible. We're going to go down a hole and not get out. If we get solution focused, if we start figuring out how we can lighten the load for somebody else, then that's a huge difference.
Randy, does that help?
Yeah, thank you.
Anybody else have a question for Tom? Tom, I want to thank you very, very much. I think you've given some people some good thoughts. This is what we have to use to lead our families, to lead our employees, because just like we said, they've all got fear. This is why I've been encouraging everybody to meet with your employees, have these meetings, reassure them they're going through some of the worst times in their lives. The unemployment is low. We have overloaded our government with the systems cannot handle. They've been plainly overwhelmed. Nobody had anything like this. The software can't handle it. The banks are overloaded. The amount that's happening, I compared it to several of you this week. It would be very similar to someone calling you one day in October and said, I need 1,000 people called you today and said, I need my chimney swept tomorrow. You couldn't handle the phone calls. You couldn't process the information. We would never be able to handle it. And that's what we're seeing right now. And that's where we've got to give our people this leadership. So Tom, I'm gonna welcome you to stay through this. I'm gonna go through a little exercise with everybody. If you want to stay with us, you're welcome to. But I want to thank you very much for giving us your time tonight.
You bet. I'm gonna have to run, but you guys are awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you, Tom.
Thank you, Tom.
So what I want to do here is, I want each person on this call to answer 2 questions. And I'm doing this so you can understand other people's fears. And the two questions are the number one challenge that you face right now, the number one. And do you have an idea to share with others? So, Brandy, you're at the top of my screen, so you get to go first.
I don't have time to think about it. I don't know. I don't want to go first.
You don't want to go first, okay? Well, I will skip past you, okay? So,
I'll go first.
you'll go first. Go ahead.
This thing lasts too long. That's it. This thing the last thing we all want is for this thing to prolong itself, right? We can all figure out how long we can do it for a period of time until an eyebrow raises, and that's the fear, right? We want to be able to. Folks, none of us are going to be in business if this thing lasts 12, 14, 15, 18 months. We're going to be rebuilding. We're going to be restarting everything. That being stated, the only great thing about that is everybody is going to be the same. So, there is that. But as long as it's short-lived.
That's it. So
I think.
when you say too long, you're talking about the present thing we're going through, Robbie.
Correct.
Okay, I thought for a minute you meant the webinar was going on too long. I'm like,
Yeah, that's what I was getting. Okay.
I understand. So do you have about an idea, Robbie? Any ideas?
Well, there's nothing we can do.
Okay, that's what I mean.
We're not educated enough on this. We nor are the educated enough on this. We just have to wait and see. We, like everybody else, we have to
Gotcha.
wait and see.
Okay, so Mark Dent, what about you and Julie? What's your number one challenge? And do you have any ideas that you would share that could help someone else? Turn your microphone on. Mark, microphone.
Look for it right there. Okay. So what we've had our guys doing, which is it was a suggestion someone made that we reach out to the customers, see if they need anything, if we can help them in any way outside of doing chimney work. And one of the guys did that yesterday, sent out I don't know, like 3 dozen emails to the customers that he went to the week before we shut down, the week and a half or so before we shut down. Wanted to let everybody know that he hadn't become sick. None of the people in our company had become sick. We think that what we had done when we were at their houses to prevent spreading the coronavirus may possibly worked. That wanted to know if they, asked the customers, I hope you're fine, hope you didn't get sick. If you need anything like groceries, or if you're confined to your house, or you have become sick and you need things, feel free to call our company. We'll be glad to drop stuff on your doorstep for you. And the response was overwhelming. I mean, we got showered with emails from customers today, thanking him for doing that.
Okay.
And so I passed the template that he used to the other guys, told them what had happened as a result of him sending out these emails, in the hopes that the same thing happens. We've been using that virtual chimney assessment, and I was telling you before the meeting started how that's we've got we're running 25% of those. 25% of the ones that came in, we've got on the schedule for when this backs off. Our area is supposed to peak about April 30th, May 1st, something like that. So we're booking jobs right now for mid-May into June, and unless things change.
Okay, so your biggest idea is the virtual stuff is what you see as a gold nugget for people. Okay, the other
Virtual assessment and staying in contact with people.
Okay. So the other thing is, what is your biggest challenge right now?
Keeping everybody positive.
Avoiding the frying pan.
I think it's keeping all of the employees on a positive note and doing these meetings twice a week with them through Zoom has helped that tremendously.
Right.
And it's a challenge just to, finding things we have our morning meetings, we talk about waste, we talk about yesterday's jobs, we talk about today's jobs. Now we don't have yesterday's jobs, we don't have today's jobs, we don't have waste from yesterday, we don't know what to talk about. So we're trying to just find things, keep them busy without
Gotcha. So your men are your major challenge right now, your workforce, your men, and also the office staff. That's your major challenge, is your people right now.
Keeping them on task.
Gotcha. Cheryl, what's your number one challenge and what idea would you share?
I'm like Mark. It's, keeping everybody up. Like I say, we're a non-essential business, so we are basically just trying to help each other out. In fact, it's been a challenge, but it's been a good one. I've noticed I'm actually getting closer with the guys. So, and that makes it good. And I've gotten 3 different texts today from 3 of my employees. I'm just so glad you're out there. Hope we can get started back soon. So that's kind of the challenge. And the one idea I've got is one that I learned while I was working with the Zieglers and with some of the other, Bob Bodine, is one more thing. And what that is, whatever you do, if it's profitable, always do one more thing that you don't get paid for.
Okay. So Richie Baxley, what's your major challenge and do you have any good ideas to share? Turn your mic on, Richie.
Yeah, that guys. Okay. Things haven't changed for us very much around here. We don't have that many cases. So I can't speak to any real challenges that have caused us to make changes. But I do see it slowing down, and I expect to see some challenges coming up. Keeping the guys busy and just making sure they stay upbeat, and everyone so far is, and I'm very thankful for that.
Any ideas?
First of all, let me say I like the preaching tonight, and I think Tom Ziegler was right on target with a lot of his message there. My idea would just be simply, because this is my favorite Bible verse, 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray and seek my face and turn from their wicked ways, then will I hear from heaven and will forgive their sin and heal their land. I think that that goes a long way into telling us what we can do to get rid of this virus.
Okay, Richie. Steve Sobsack, what's your major challenge and do you have any good ideas to share? Because this is what this is all about. What I'm trying to do is get everyone to understand where you're each sitting at so you can have an understanding of other people that are in the same business, and then hopefully come up with some ideas progressive tonight. So Steve, what about you?
We're right outside of New York City, and I'm pretty scared about my workers, what they're going to do, if they're even going to come back. I'm not really getting a good feel from anybody right now, and some of the weak links we were going to replace and everything. I don't know. Staffing is a really big concern for me right now.
Okay.
Big fear.
And what do you have any ideas?
I got a lot of free time on my hands now, so I'm back on that book that you had me write, and I got a plan for it. The past couple of years, I've fostered a really good relationship with an oil company. I'm in the oil country up here, and it's been a very large percentage of my business. And I plan on using that book to shop that around with some other people like that. It's a good revenue stream, and it's a really good foot in the door with clients. And I think, I'm hoping it'll fill that void if the fall is lousy.
Okay.
I'm really worried about it having a longer lasting effect than we all think, at least where I am.
Okay, and so everybody knows Steve's business is in Connecticut. Steve lives on Long Island, so he is right in the what I would call the epicenter where the utmost concern is. So he's in Governor Cuomo's area, right?
Yeah.
Okay, Jim and Kathy, Amarillo, Texas. What's your biggest challenge, and what ideas does the Colonel have? Got to turn your mic on, Jim.
I had to reach for it. Basically, we've got customers that are opposite ends of the spectrum. Either. So our concern is we have to figure out who we're dealing with. We have on the one side that are in denial and, party on. We don't have a problem here. And then we have the other one that has the fear of the unknown. They just don't know what's going to happen tomorrow or 6 months down the road. So we are trying to keep very visible and contacting customers and basically just trying to let everybody know that it's business as usual for us, with the exception of the safety measures that we are doing to keep us safe and our employees safe and also our customers safe. So that's kind of where we are.
You got any great ideas, Jim?
No, everything's pretty well been hashed out. I think most important, just stay in contact, with Facebook, emails, calling. We just starting up our virtual assessment. We don't know how that's going to work out, but just stay in front of them and just stay in contact with them.
Okay. Tim Reed, you just did a webinar earlier today. What's your number one challenge that you see, and what bright ideas do you have?
Yeah, thanks, Jerry. I think my number one challenge personally right now is I left a super comfortable job about 6 days ago to jump into a career of speaking gigs, consulting, and software development for companies. And I've been planning it for a while, but the timing has been hilarious. I had like 20 speaking gigs lined up in about 20 different states over the next couple months, and they're all being canceled or postponed. So, I think that the challenge comes with focusing time. And so I'm sure you guys feel this way too. There's so many priorities that divide you. For me right now, as I'm starting my business, I've got marketing, I've got sales, I've got development of future products, and I've got fine tuning what we already have. And the fight is to filter ideas, to push away the ones that aren't going to move the needle, to prioritize the ones that are going to move the needle, and focus on each task at hand. I think that's my number one challenge right now. But I think as far as ideas, I think it's what the webinar earlier today was about. Jerry was on it, and basically we ran a webinar that talked about how to create a system of tracking your sales and maximizing every follow-up opportunity. And with most businesses, we did a survey of over 100 hearth businesses in the last month and a half or so. And we asked them to rate their company or their departments in their company: sales, installation, service, all the different areas. And almost every company rated sales really high. But as we started to push into it, none of the companies had a system of tracking their sales. None of the companies had a way to give team members a weekly game plan of what they were going to do for the week. Team members weren't turning in their results. There was no discussion or practice with that. And what I've realized is that over the last number of years, a lot of companies have been doing really good in spite of themselves. And it's not bad necessarily, but we're in a time now where these ideas like that Jerry's talking about and that I'm starting to try to talk about is it's easy to sweep them aside when more business is coming in than you know what to do with. But just like Tom said on the call, Zig prepared for 50 years to make that call when he had to pivot. And the stuff that Jerry's talking about and the idea of fine tuning our sales process, what do we do with a lead? How many times do we call a customer back? Taylor's on this call. He's got some amazing software called Closing Commander. How do we pursue a lead? How do we maximize our opportunities? That's something that I think a lot of us haven't been listening to for the last few years, but now we're in a position to actually make some noise with it. And so so it's a long answer to the question, Jerry, but the idea that I've been thinking about is molding our sales process to a digital model and creating follow-up systems to nail every opportunity in the sales game.
Gotcha. Okay, Steve Hall, you're an interim CFO for some of the companies on this call. So what's your major challenge right now? And what would be your gold nugget advice coming for people to be looking at?
I think I'd like to skip the challenge. I don't have the business responsibilities or challenges that the rest of you have. I'm just trying to be there for the clients that rely on me and do everything that I can to facilitate whatever they need. I'm here and available. I'd like to focus on an idea, if I may, springboard a little bit off of what Robbie said a minute ago about how, in the end, everything is affecting us all the same. We're all going to be the same, whether it's 2 months from now or a year from now when this gets over. It's all affecting us the same. We see that in the economy. And then connect that to what Mark was talking about, one of his texts doing, of going out, reaching out to people, and basically just saying, what can we do for you? How can we help? We're in a position to be able to help you. How can we do it? And the way that people responded to that is a reflection, I think, of what Robbie was saying, that we're all in this together. And if coming out of this thing, that concept or that feeling, that sense that may be getting developed in people of the togetherness of the people in this country and in this world, if that can somehow survive all of this, it's almost as if this challenge would be worth it to cultivate that attitude and that idea and continue it on into the future. I hope that happens. I hope that's a result of all this.
Okay, thank you. Randy, you're next on my screen. Are you ready with yours yet?
I'm ready. I was actually typing it because I have to get ready to get off. So my major challenge has just been keeping my office girls busy. Things have slowed down, and in the beginning it was great because I was just throwing every project that I had at them that I've always wanted them to get done. But they've been efficient in that and have caught up on all those projects. And so now trying to keep them busy. What seems to be working is I've been offering them, hey, come October, November, December, you can't take any time off. It's going to be, balls to the walls, so to speak. So if you guys want to go home early these days, if you want to come in late, just let me know. And so they've been alternating going home early in the afternoons. And they've really been enjoying that. And of course, it helps my bottom line and my payroll.
Okay. Any gold nugget ideas besides that?
That's the major one that I can think of.
Gotcha. Matt Mayer, what's your major challenge up there in New Hampshire, and any gold nuggets from you?
Okay, yeah. We are still working to a limited extent. We are technically classified by New Hampshire's very loose stay-home orders as essential industry. Now, we're choosing to sort of pick and choose what we do, where obviously a lot of the...
Your internet just went dead.
Optional, like the in-house kind of...
Matt, if you can hear me,
to work the new facade.
Yeah, your internet.
Yeah, it sucks.
Bad. Okay. So I'm just going to skip past if Matt can get back in a minute. He will. Taylor, what about you from your side? What's the biggest?
Sorry, I don't know what's wrong with my internet here.
How about now? Can you come out now? Matt, I don't think you're going to blast through. So Taylor, what's your major challenge right now, and what's a gold nugget you would throw out for people?
You guys will probably laugh at my major challenge, but it's getting all the work done that we've got coming in. We've just tried really, really hard to communicate with our clients and make sure that they know that this is the time to speak to their clients. And so we're just trying to meet them where they are. If they need help, on anything, I've told my guys, if we can do it, let's get it done. I mean, that's just kind of where we are. But I've got them. They're working overtime right now. So that's really our major right now today. That's my major challenge. But I can see that I'm kind of like Robbie. I can see if this thing goes on and on and on, that challenge will change.
Okay. You have any gold nuggets for us?
Well, I really, I look at what Tom said a little bit differently. There's something that I've actually learned from a coach that coaches my wife in interior design, and they call it the thought model, which I think is fantastic. And we're all in the same circumstance, not just here in America, but pretty much across the world. We have this coronavirus, and none of us are really immune to the effects of it. We may not get it, but the effects that happen is happening everywhere. So we have a circumstance, and so we choose our thought from those circumstances. And so how we think about our circumstances is really going to I think play into how each one of us handles it, because your circumstances turns into a thought. From your thought, you have a feeling. Your feeling elicits actions, and actions results. And so you cannot change your circumstance, but the one thing you can go back and always change is your thoughts. So if you find yourself down, if you find yourself in just really distress, then I would tell you to go back and choose a different thought. One of the things I love what Brandy brought up with her kids, because really it's their thoughts. I'm bored, I'm this. I've been talking to my grandkids. It's the same kind of thing. And I've said, then change it. How do you change that to have something else? What your result is boredom. So what can you think to take you out of that? And one of the best things that we can do as human beings is reach out to those around us and offer help.
Thank you. Rona Kelly, what's your major challenge and what gold nuggets would you share? You got to turn your mic on, sweetie. Can't hear you. I don't think your mic's not connected or something, Rona. I don't know what it is, but the mic's not connecting. Okay, so Lee Roth, what's your major challenge? And you may want to share the unique thing that happened to you yesterday in this economy.
I guess the biggest challenge is this is no longer a sprint, it's now a marathon. And trying to figure out this is going to be a grind. It's not just going to be a short deal. So that's probably the hardest thing for me, and it's uncertainty of not knowing exactly what's going on. The idea is exactly what you just said. We had an employee that kind of decided he didn't want to be with us anymore. And I think, and this is another analogy I've heard used, I think today, which is burning off slag, where everybody's getting heat put on them, and the weak parts are getting burnt off, which is going to make us better in the end. So I think that is one of my good ideas. Also, it's exactly what I've heard earlier today, which is trying to pick up all the crumbs, making sure my kids watch these shows about these gold miners that go through and people mine the dirt and grab all the easy stuff. And then other people come back and catch all the fine stuff later through the same stuff that they threw away. And now I'm trying to design my gold catching machine to catch not only the big nuggets, but the fine dust too. I think it's going to add up.
So your gold nugget is to start looking for the fine dust that we just let filter through our fingers. Would that be correct?
That is the analogy, correct.
Okay, and so everybody knows the gentleman that quit wanted more money in this economy. Okay, so just everybody, I think everybody needs to be aware that's the unclear thinking of someone in this economy that would quit a job.
Let him go.
He did. That's what I mean. He needed to go. Brian, from your perspective, what's the leading challenge and what's your gold nugget? Don't go into a 30-minute dissertation.
I've been trained, sir. I'm down to 3 minutes tops.
I've had talks with you before. Keep going.
Mr. Ziegler's story about his dad in the hospital saying, I have to speak on Thursday, really touched my heart. It actually hit it. And what I heard, and I don't know if you meant this, is that his dad knew who he was. His dad prepared for whatever would come his way, and he was ready to deal with it, right? And I think that that's the nugget. We know there could be a V, U, L, or J-shaped recoveries, right? We don't know which one. We don't know how long it'll stretch out, but we have the options in front of us. I think if we prepare ourselves using those recoveries, you can then put it to paper, update your business plan, and now you know what your parameters are. What's the worst case scenario? What's the best case scenario? What's in between? Then you apply it to your own local situation. You all have different local situations, and you all have different customer databases than everybody else. That makes you very unique. Work it, see what you can do. You work with people like Jerry and whoever else you can work with to do all the cool, fun things you're doing to adapt and modify. And then you monitor, and you modify, and you monitor, and you modify. You're in control of what you can do. And you're ready for what's coming your way. And when it comes your way, you make the reaction. I didn't learn this in college. I didn't even learn this on the job when I was either running businesses or I was up on ledges, putting in glass when I was a glazer, right? I learned this when I was a firefighter. I was trained. I never went into a call that went the way the training went. I had to rely on my instincts and who I was to get through some hairy situations, and I did, fortunately, right? And I think that's where we're at right now. So I think the thing to do is lay out 3 or 4 different options, the way things can go, plan for it, share it with people. But the confidence you get from being prepared and allowing you to be you will transfer to your employees, to your spouse, to your children, and it carries on down the line. And I think that is, from what I'm hearing on this call, I think that will help everybody on this call tremendously.
Okay. And to share something in a conversation Brian and I had earlier this week, and I've already shared this with some of you in phone calls, but the great economists of the world are changing their recommendations for your reserve funds. And used to, it was 6 months. The economists you're going to see after you come out of this is they're now recommending that you get 12 to 18 months of funding in reserve that no one would have ever imagined. And that's what this has taught us, where we have the funding to survive when these calamities happen in the future. Right, Brian?
That is correct.
Okay. The next one, I can't wait to hear from this, because this is Mr. Blip on the horizon. Bob Ferrari, what's your major challenge and what's your gold nugget for tonight?
All right. Well, I would say that our major challenge is, in February, we started a transition for new software. And my daughter-in-law, who's basically our general manager, is leaving the company and moving up north with my son in about 6 weeks. She's gone. And we're right in the middle of, you know how complicated new software is and getting everything transferred over and all of this. And I have to hire somebody and train them on this in a time when we can't bring somebody into the office, even for an interview, is really crazy right now. So that's a real challenge for me, is how are we going to actually find this person who can replace her? We've been looking for a while. And then what are we going to do when we do find them? How are we going to train them and get things up and running when I'm not going to have my main girl there, who's really held us together for a lot of years now? So that's my challenge.
What's your gold nugget?
My gold nugget is that this will pass. This too will pass. It doesn't matter if it lasts a long time. It doesn't matter if it's a short run. It's already, I think, not going to be a short run. I think we're going to be at least a couple more months out. But the things that I have control, the things that I don't have control over, what the government says, what we're required to do, I don't want to think about them. Those are not, I'm not going to carry that baggage inside my head. There's things that I can do. We've already come through such hard times the last few years. A lot of our efficiencies had gone up. We were better at it. We came into this in fairly good position. We had money in the bank. We had no debt. I mean, there's a lot of good things for us that I didn't have over the years prior to this. And I know that we can figure this out. I'm looking at opportunities. I'm looking at hiring a guy to open up another division for us. I'm looking at another market I want to move into, and I think there's opportunities there. And I'm the guy that can figure that out. I'm the guy that can find a way through, and I know that. I believe that. And I think that we need those of you who said, to find the positive messages that are out there, that we're getting 85, 90% negative, and fear, that's not what we want to do. Fear makes us do bad things. Psychologically, fear makes us have bad choices and actually indulge ourselves in ways that we shouldn't. And so looking for the good things, looking for the future that we want. What got me through my hard years there was that we had a vision that was written down that said where we wanted to go. And even though it was absolutely impossible, when we lost 40% of our business one year and 25% the next year, and had no winter there for those 3 years. For a chimney business, it's pretty devastating. But we had a vision of what kind of company we wanted and what we wanted to be and what we were going to build. And because of that, we did not deviate from that written down vision. And I think that's what got us through. Without that, right now, we get wandering all over the place. Should I run over here and do this? Should I go over there and do that? But really, you got to look further down the road. What is it you're building? Why are you building it? I remember why I am, and let's just keep moving towards that. If it's tiny steps today, take tiny steps. If it's big strides tomorrow, take big strides. But this is all going to pass, and we're still going to be moving towards that dream that we originally decided we want to embrace.
So what I'm hearing you say, Bob, is everybody needs to have a vision pointing towards to carry them through this. Would that be correct?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Without that, you'll get lost.
Gotcha. Larry Berg, what's your major challenge, and you got any gold nuggets you would throw out here tonight for people to think about?
I would say that the major challenge right now is probably communicating with everybody in my company, which has always been a challenge for me. But this, especially going back out into the field and working, trying to keep the numbers up and where they need to be. It's especially challenging to communicate with everybody that I want to communicate with.
Gotcha. How about any gold nuggets? Any gold nuggets you would share of wisdom?
I think the only thing I know for sure is that putting your head down and working hard can just about get you through anything.
Okay.
And I think that that's the way I'm built, and I think that that's the way the company's built. And for the most part, everybody's on the same page. We're going at it head on, and hopefully this doesn't go too much longer.
Okay. Did Tom's message help you with what you need to tell your men?
Absolutely. To tell you the truth, I was kind of zoning out for a while, because I'm probably stuck in my own negative thoughts and tired of hearing positive this, positive that. But it really, really hit home that you can change your own mind.
You understand that? Did it get you? Right. And that's what you've got to do. And that's what that's what I'm trying to do here with everybody and having these calls. Okay. Joe Shear, what about you? What's your challenge, and what's any gold nuggets you got for this?
Well, first of all, liked hearing Tom. Thanks for him coming on. That was really some good message. I took a couple notes down there from that, couple of the quotes he said. I think my biggest challenge, they're kind of in small parts, and the challenges are kind of moving. My one challenge is my office girl has been on home the last couple of weeks. And the longer she's home, the harder it seems to get her back in just for a few hours or whatnot. I think that's because of her second half, and I think it's the wrong reasons. That's for another discussion. So, she's my right hand. I need her there. So the last couple of weeks, it's been no different than I remember starting this at 20 years old. I sat in my grandmother's basement. I answered the phone. I went to the job. I did what I needed. I got all the materials. So that's a challenge because I can't be both places at once. The other is, Mario Cuomo. He's a challenge. Not much I can do about that with our, current governor with, trying to, feel like he's creating a lot more panic than there really truthfully is from some people I know inside hospitals around here. Some of these numbers I think are kind of blown out of proportion. And the other thing is a couple of my guys are sniffing out the unemployment right now of how much they can make home. And a couple of the strong guys are like, we're just workers. We know they know at the end that I remember who worked and who didn't. So those are a couple of the moving things. And the one last challenge is that some of our vendors aren't open around here to get masonry supplies. So I've been challenged with that a little bit. On the opportunity side, the last couple of weeks I've thought, long and hard how I started this, and I got no problem just getting right back in the trenches, and I'll get through this. I'm redirecting some marketing right now with some streaming up here. In the last 2 weeks, I've probably only looked at 12 jobs. I've sold 11. And every single one has been, the people have been over 50, 55, 60 years old. So they're not minding me coming to their home. They seem engaged to buy. Even on a couple home inspections, I was at one today, we hardly ever sell those, and the guy signed right up that he's selling this house. So I think that's been really good. I mean, I wonder how much short of April I'll be than I was last year if I can keep selling. I just seem to be, selling a lot. The other thing that's really been good and bad, is we have some city people that have flocked up here, and they're sitting in their house the last 3 or 4 days saying, my chimney. I've got 3 calls in the last couple of days that people from the city that are up here saying, oh my God, I've never gotten to this chimney. I've been sitting here for 2 weeks, stir crazy, come out and do it. I sold one today. So I think that's the good side. But, are you going to run out of 55 and 60-year-old people to do work on their house? But it's amazing. I have not been to somebody less than 50 years old since this has happened to do anything for them.
Yeah, one thing Joe shared with me yesterday was there's actually a town near him that has banned the use of leaf blowers in their town because of fear of spreading the virus. And Joe, you're about how far from New York City?
About 2.5 hours.
Okay, good enough. Josh Kelly, what about you? What's your major challenge and any gold nuggets you got?
I think it's going to be getting the employees engaged, that, they can really take this time and sharpen their knives. Really and truly, I think that's, when we've mentioned it a few times, you kind of get the blank stares. And I think those employees, I don't think are gonna make it through this. We've kind of identified some weaknesses in employees, and I've been, adding more material to our processes, strengthening our processes, documenting more of our processes, and and putting more material up on our internal company website to document that, so they can't say, you never showed me or anything like that.
So, any gold nuggets?
No, I mean, the last 2 business days, we've had people calling and booking appointment. It's not anything that, it's enough for one truck, doing 3 calls a day. It's nothing wowing us, but we're in not a terrible position. And we're using also some of this time to, we're focused on the remodel of our showroom.
Okay. So, Robbie Murphy, what about you? What's your major challenge and any gold nuggets you got, brother?
We are similar to Joe, 2 hours north of New York City. We've got it probably the worst as far as people being deathly afraid to go outside. It's incredible the lack of people that you see in public now and on the road. We are, all of us, myself included, are unemployment. We're all laid off. Biggest challenge right now, I guess we're past the layoff, we're past the unemployment, and now we're just sitting around. So, I don't know. Right now, we're getting calls, we're booking the calls that we're getting, pushing them out till probably mid-May, I think, around that time. But we're definitely different than most of the country, I would say, as far as people just being afraid. I'm not scared, but, you know, I'll go out and do what I have to do. Emergencies is pretty much all we're doing right now. Gold nuggets, just communication, like everybody else said. We've been speaking to our employees once a week on Zoom. We've got a meeting tomorrow at 8 a.m. with everybody, just a company meeting.
Send me a link.
Yeah, seeing where their head's at, how they're doing, how their families are doing. Do you want me to bring something to you? A couple of our guys are, you know, they don't have huge health problems, but they shouldn't really be going out in public. So I'll, you know, let me come over, drop some whatever off to you, you know. I thought about portraying to the community, hey, we're here, we got trucks sitting around, and I'd love to help you. But where we are, I mean, going out in public, you know, like anywhere else, is not really the best idea. So it's not one of those things that I want to just, hey, we're here, when I'd probably be the one doing it. You know, I'm young and I'm healthy, but, you know, somebody I know got the virus personally to me, and, you know, it kind of, it scares you a little bit when somebody, you know, 20 miles away, 10 miles away, got this. It's like, wow, it's an eye opener. It's not just, you know, all crap. So
everybody knows where Robbie is located. They have commuters that go to New York City every day. The train runs to New York from there. So in his market area are workers that go into the city every day, right, Robbie?
Yeah, and like Joe, a lot of the people in New York City coming up to their summer homes and bringing the virus up here, quote unquote. So hopefully they're sitting in their home for 14 days when they get here from the city. That's what you hope for. But also at the same time, they're sitting around, you know, and looking at their chimney maybe. But, you know, we're just preparing for when we do go back to work. The work's ready and it's there, and all of our employees seem in good, good health, and everybody's okay, which is all I can ask for. And I recommend everybody, you know, keeping up on training and becoming smarter. And when we come out on the other end of this, we're ready to go. And, I look forward to these calls every week. And whatever else Jerry and whoever else I can get my hands on has to offer almost every night of the week. If we can, I'd be glad to sit here and not zone out of the work, you know, like we easily can.
Okay. Thank you, Robbie. Bart, I think you are that 316 number on there. Are you there? I don't see you on video. So Bart, are you available to come in with what your challenges are? Hey, Bart. Rona, did you get your mic working?
Okay, can you hear me now?
I hear you now. So go
Okay.
ahead. What's your major challenge besides Josh? Josh is Rona's son, so you're aware.
I can't believe that not a one of you said anything about the money. But that's, I think, is the big challenge, is managing the money, and how do we survive for the next 4 to 8 weeks. And listening to the news about the PPP, you know, is not encouraging. Just because so many people applied so fast, you know. And I applied the very first day, and the banker told me today the SBA website crashed, and so did their bank website. So I'm not going to count on that, because I don't know if it's coming, and I don't know what the terms are. I don't know how to use the money, and I'm not looking to take a loan if I really don't have to. So, but
You got any gold nuggets?
no, I think it's really hard to stay focused and stay positive. It gets overwhelming, and so these are good. It's good to hear everybody's in the same boat, but I think we're plugging away, and Josh is working with his guys. I hope to be better, and it's certainly when you do without an employee for a while, it does. You start wondering, do you need them or not?
Yeah.
And can we do better? Because I think the job market is going to change significantly in another month.
Yeah. So I saw Rick Anderson just came back in. Rick, if you can hear me, the question is, what is your major challenge? And is there any gold nuggets you would offer to the group? And you're going to have to unmute your mic if you can hear me.
You hear me?
Hear you fine. Go ahead, brother.
Golden nuggets, not panic, I guess. Not have a rainy day fund for all this. So I was been preparing for since 2008 for something like this. So I'm not really scared about it, but that's a good idea. I need to check in with my employees and see how they're doing. Even though I'm doing just fine, I have to check up on them. But we just have one truck. Everyone's laid off. I have one truck working. They're both laid off, but they want to work. And my office manager's laid off, and she wants to work, so they come in and work. And I figured once things get going, I'm just going to give them a big bonus when they come back.
Okay.
They're not bringing any major money in, but I've been ahead of my bills for weeks now anyways, but now I put aside 12 months of rent payment. So I had that in a separate account for stuff like this. And all my vehicle payments, I was anywhere from 10 months to 12 months ahead of all my payments. So I just shut off all my automatic payments on all my vehicles. That's pretty much what I'm doing. But I don't really have any gold nuggets.
Okay.
Just keep ahead of all your payments.
Yeah. Rick,
on the good times, because I see a lot of people, they do a big job and then they get a big check and then they go and splurge it on everything. Me, I'm opposite. I put it away for a rainy day. I just keep all that big jobs and I just keep putting that money away. So, and I know I have to pay payments on like pay all my regular bills. So that's the first thing I always pay anyways. So that's why I'm always at least 2-3 weeks ahead of time on all my bills.
Right. Rick, let me ask you a question. Some years ago, you didn't have your numbers together, correct?
Right.
How would you have faced this at that time? What would this have done to you at that time?
Probably crushed me.
Okay. Got you covered. Thank you, Rick. Donovan, what about you? What's your major challenge? You just came out of the COVID-19 virus. You're still not 100%. You're weak. And what's your gold nugget?
Hey, my biggest challenge, my biggest fear is not being able to help the people that I might be able to reach out to. You know, that was one of my concerns when I got sick. And Jerry, you kept telling me, you need to get healthy. You need to rest. You need to get your energy back. You need to get well because you're no good to anybody else right now. So I had to get healthy. I had to overcome that COVID-19 deal. And I'm working on getting my energy back. But the thing that Tom Ziegler just energized me, just absolutely filled me up with energy. I met Zig Ziglar back when I was in high school, and I grew up listening to Zig Ziglar, and you know, minus the accent and everything, it was like I was transformed back in time, and that positive energy was just flowing, and I felt what he was talking about. And as we rewrite the service manual for the service industry, we define service as, you know, providing a routine maintenance or whatever, an assessment or an inspection of a system. But the other definition of service that I think is really important, and I heard a lot of people talking about this, is being helpful to others. And that's the community, our communities, our families, our friends, our coworkers, our employees, anybody. And how can we help anybody around us? That always gets my mind off of whatever I'm struggling with, the challenges that I'm facing, if I can reach out and help somebody else. So I really want to make sure that I'm available to everybody else. And I think that that's what a lot of people are doing, is making themselves available. So if we go back to the basics, and we start there and start at the basics of what the service industry is all about, then we can move forward in how we're going to change for this pandemic and this just crisis. And I truly believe, from all the conversations that I've had and all the things that I've seen, we are going to be a better industry on the other side of this. We are going to be so much better. So I am 100% convinced that each and every one of us that is able to make it through this is going to be better, as companies, as people, everything. So that's my 2 cents.
Okay. So today, I got a couple more minutes and we'll end this, but this is kind of what 2020 is. And we all go through these phases. We go through the fears. And Rona, I think everybody on here has that concern about the money. Yeah, it's there. It's for everybody. If we didn't say it, we'd be lying to each other. So that's there. But what you got to do is listen to what Tom told us. And that is, you have to lead your people. At this time, there's never been a more important time in your career as a leader to listen to your people. I've been stressing for weeks, please have these meetings with your people. It's going to help them. Now, and what they need to be doing, and this is going to take you leading them there, they need to be upping their skills. They need to be upping and headed for getting better at what they do. They're not 10s. If anybody's in here has got an employee that they would rate as a 10, tell me who they are, because we can all use improvement. So in light of that, what we've been doing is we have poured on the training at the highest level we can. We've been doing webinars live on 2 different Sundays now, releasing those out. Starting tomorrow, we're doing our live stream training 3 days a week on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday afternoons. This is live stream, live instruction, interaction with the people. And we have upped our GoToWebinar capacity where we can seat up to 500 people in one of these classes. So we wanted to up that. So we invested in heavier to be able to do that going forward. On Wednesdays will be gas training. Thursdays will be chimney training. Fridays will be office training. We're going to do this every week through this crisis. And we haven't announced this part. This is actually going to be CEU accredited. So the people that attend, if you'll notice, they have to sign in with their own individual links. That is so we can keep track and attendance for the CEU program. So, and I'll explain in the programming when we start it, how they will file for their CEUs. But this is what we've got to do as a group right now. This is the most important thing that any of us will do, is to be that leader. Your people are scared. Some of them are waiting on unemployment checks. They're not coming. This system is overloaded. And you're going to have questions, and the unemployment changes in every single state. And these, again, your people are going to look at you as leaders. And right now is how you're going to build one of the most immaculate teams in the future. Rona, you were dead on the money. Some of them aren't going to make it. But to be honest with you, some of them shouldn't make it. They have not been on your team all along. This is where it's going to separate. I told somebody today, and I've told several people, this is like being on the Titanic almost. And there's lifeboats out there. And your men and your ladies that work for you, each one's got a lifeboat. And they can either paddle that lifeboat to help you get off the Titanic, or they paddle the other way. I heard something the other day about people that are really leaders They don't run away from the fire, they run into the fire. And that's what we have to do as individuals. That's what our mission is here. That's what we're trying to do to help everybody that we can. My clients are the most sacred to me in this, but I'm also made a decision that I want to help other people in the industry. That's why we're doing the live training like we are out for anyone that we can. We want to be known when we come through this as the #1 asset for people in the chimney, venting, and hearth industries, and that's what we're on to doing. So, but you guys and gals that are my clients, that's my major concern. I'm here for you. Cheryl's here for you, and I hope that these Tuesday night meetings are helping you. I wanted to do this roundtable thing tonight of y'all sharing what your challenges are, so you can understand what it's like in other market areas. When you go on to it, when you heard Richie say, Richie's in Western North Carolina. Robbie is in Eastern North Carolina. It's a completely different atmosphere in one state, isn't it, Robbie? It is completely different. Richard Tattershaw, are you still on here? Or did you go off? I think he went off. I never got to him a while ago, but he's blinked out.
Jerry,
So, huh?
Rick Anderson has his hand raised.
Okay, Rick, go ahead. Turn your mic on.
I just had a question on these courses. I can send it out to all my employees, or is it only for the people that are registered on your site to do the
No,
training?
it is for anybody in the industry. Send it to all of your people. Tell them to sign up individually. There's a link for each individual class. Once they sign up, all they have to do is put in their name and their email address. And once they hit submit, they will get a link that will bring them into that class. Each class will have its own link, and I will publish those links every Monday going forward. And, you know, we're just putting it out. We're not even putting out who the instructors are on these things. I'll tell you tomorrow, it'll be Bob Wise. The subject matter tomorrow is going to be the 10 leading causes of gas callbacks. Why are people calling them back? And we're going to do a program on that, which is going to.
People forget parts, Jerry.
Yeah. Well, that's a lean. That's where you got to kick their butt, Robbie. That goes without saying. But anyway, Bob has assembled his thing. And I mean, I'll tell you what really got me today is some of my competitive education platform is signed up for my gas training tomorrow, okay? That was some of the earliest signups, whereas people from I'll just call it a competitive platform. But all of a sudden, because I know when you sign up, I started seeing these signups on there. So it was kind of interesting. So I congratulated them, welcome aboard, told them I was be glad for them to join mine, even though they won't let me watch theirs. So, hey, that's what it's turnabout.
The better man.
I'm going to be the better man out of this. So that's what we're doing. So it's like, this is, you know, if you got gas guys, they need to be on there tomorrow, 2 to 4 p.m. Eastern time. And like I said, we will know who's on the platform, or they can ask questions through the chat bar. On Friday, it's going to be the 10 leading reasons you lose sales. And what we're going to do in this is we're going to talk about the new way that you're going to have to sell and going forward. It's going to be much geared more towards service. The entire sales approach will change as we go forward. And we've got to train your people. And this is why you've got to get these people onto these trainings. Now, so you know, the trainings will all be recorded. They will all go onto our platform. If they attend them on the platform, they can still get CUs. We will broadcast them on YouTube like the other ones. But if they watch the YouTube thing, they're not going to get CUs from the YouTube. They have to attend it live. And after that, they have to be on our platform in order to get their CUs through this thing. So does anybody have anything to add in to this that could help anyone else for the benefit of the group? Has anybody got any wise words? Cheryl, I want you to pass along to Tom what Donovan said and how appreciative we were, because you're the one that has the close relationship with Tom. But so you know,
I've been emailing back and forward with him ever since he went out.
Right. So you know, like I said, I wanted someone that could come on here and give the right words. And I had Cheryl, I said, will you call Tom and see if he'll come on here? And Tom was happy to do it. Tom didn't charge us one dime for this tonight. This is what the guy does for a living. So what he's doing is trying to help other people. And Cheryl can tell you that is the entire process of the Ziegler group when you get involved with it. When she came back from Ziegler, she was a different person from the way she went there. She learned things of how to do there. She's still working to try to change me, I guess. So that's a challenge for her, right? So
2x4 is all that'll work there.
2x4, or use Julie's frying pan method like Mark got there, right? In case anyone hasn't noticed, Mark Dent has a really nice shiner that came from a tree branch, he says, but we're not sure of that. So
Was that really a necessary statement? Let the man live his dream.
he's the one that put it on the internet, okay? So I appreciate everybody joining us. Everybody knows where we're at. We'll see you again as a group next Tuesday night. We'll do it. And hey, maybe we'll find another great guest to join us, okay? So I appreciate everybody being on here. Appreciate all your support, okay? Let me know what we can do for you, and we'll talk to you later. Hope to see you on our class. Well, yes, Robbie. Robbie, did you?
Good night, folks.
Okay, see you later.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.